afternoon, Mets fans, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and I want to talk about a couple of things that happened yesterday before the game, and of course last night's game where the Mets actually got a victory and are on a process where they're looking to turn this ship around in support of their manager, Callaway, who, despite the comments of Brodie Van Wagenen yesterday, most definitely is still on the hot seat. So I want to talk about that on this afternoon's show. Before we get into any Mets news, I am happy to report that I am driving again, as you can see. I did receive a new mount device for my phone, so that's good. Just sticking with things that are good, well, we're not going to start there, unfortunately. We're going to start with the bad. Before yesterday's game, injury news hit the team, because it's the Mets. Why else would injury news hit the team? Yoenis Cespedes. Let's start at the ranch. All right, start at the ranch with Yoenis Cespedes. Cespedes yesterday fractured his ankle playing cowboy and Indian, or just cowboy, on his ranch in South Florida. And I think this pretty well locks in the fact that we are not going to see Noah Syndergaard. We're not going to see Yoenis Cespedes in 2019. That might be a good thing, because I think everyone skeptically was looking at Cespedes thinking, like, what is this guy going to give the Mets anyway this year? And, you know, the answer to that question now is pretty simple. Nothing. There's no way you can expect Cespedes to come back this year now. Omar Minaya was probably the only one who correctly said we're not expecting Noah Syndergaard back. I keep saying Noah Syndergaard. I hope I'm not jinxing something with getting the Cespedes-Syndergaard stuff mixed up in my mind. But Omar said, he's not going to be back. And Brodie said he might be back around the All-Star break, or after the All-Star break, he'd be a great, mid-season acquisition type return to the lineup, but that ain't happening now. Before the game last night, to have this news break, and no pun intended, just after or just before news of Seth Lugo being placed on the 10-day injured list for elbow discomfort or shoulder discomfort or whatever, it was just a very low point as a Mets fan. And as Mets fans, we're used to low points. It's sort of like being a Mets fan is sort of like a collection of low points. How low can you go? Hold my beer, I can go lower. And that's typically the way it goes with the Mets. But all of that sort of led into then a pregame press conference from Brodie Van Wagenen, who sort of said, look, Callaway's job is safe, and we like Mickey, and we're going to keep him. And that's nice, but that's lip service. The reality of the situation was that if the team continued losing, Callaway is gone. There's no way they can justify keeping him. Even though, like I said yesterday, anything that's going on, he certainly takes some blame, but changing him out isn't going to change anything. And I want to talk about the way the players reacted after the game in a minute, but let's get on to the game. So heading into this game, the opening game of a 3-game series with the Nationals at Citi Field, I didn't have high hopes, nor should anyone have. Wilmer Font on the mound for the Mets against Patrick Corbin on the mound for the Nats, who just a few days prior just dominated the shit out of the Mets, really held them in check for 8 innings, and was the catalyst behind the Mets' recent tailspin, or at least was the starting point behind it. Last night was a different story, and in the first inning, the Mets jumped on Patrick Corbin for 2 home runs, first one by Ahmed Rosario, and the second from Mr. Pete Alonso, who continues to do phenomenal things with the bat. He becomes, with his home run last night, the fastest player in Mets franchise history to get to 15 career home runs in a season. He beats out David Wright and Juan Swoboda, who were the previous record holders. So kudos to Pete. Earns his game ball, as does Ahmed Rosario. Those 2 first inning runs cannot be undervalued. The Mets were reeling to say the least. And to have an early 2-0 cushion, knowing that you've got a guy on the mound that, let's face it, isn't very trustworthy, that was huge. And both of those guys were awarded and earned game balls. Speaking of Wilmer Font, he was okay last night. He wasn't great by any means, but he was fine. I'm most impressed with Drew Gagnon, who came out of the bullpen to pitch 2 more scoreless innings of relief. Gagno's been really good. He's been terrific, really. If you look at what he's done this season for the Mets, he's done everything he was asked to do and more. And he's doing really well out of the bullpen. I like him there, and I'd like to see them keep developing him as a middle reliever. He looks really solid. He looks very confident. Keith was talking about him in the broadcast last night, just like Gagno's not afraid to throw strikes. And it was his second inning of work, I believe, when Keith was talking about this, and Gagno strikes out Juan Soto, who has a really good eye at the plate, but Gagno's throwing strikes, pouring strikes in there, and that's where success comes from. So Gagno was really good. The rest of the bullpen's been very good as well. Familia was okay for 1 inning, and then they brought him out for the second inning, and still not sure that we ought to be doing that with Jeurys Familia, having him pitch more than 1 inning. Not letting him sit down between innings, I think, is the key. It's not who he faces. It's not how quickly he gets through the frame. It's the fact that he has to sit, pause, and then reset when he goes back out for the start of the next inning. I just don't think that's in Familia's wheelhouse. I don't think that's for him, and I hope that they stop using him in that fashion. The Mets did build up a 4-0 lead before the Nationals kind of crawled back into the game. Anthony Rendon, who my God, does he kill the Mets. Hit a home run. He drove in some runs with a double, or another run with a double, or he scored a run rather on a base hit after hitting a double. But Rendon's at the center of everything the Nationals seem to do against the Mets, and last night was no different. I have to tip my cap, although I didn't award Dom Smith a game ball. I gotta give kudos to Dom. It was a 4-3 game when Dom Smith pinch hit and lined a base hit up the middle off of a tough lefty and Tony Sipp. To bring in a really key insurance run, which in the top half of the ninth, Edwin Diaz looked like he needed that insurance run. He was really shaky, got himself into and out of trouble to earn a save, and got the Mets a big win. And perhaps it's the start of righting the ship, perhaps not. But last night's victory was huge. It was absolutely necessary for the Mets to get a win last night. As I said, the Callaway media frenzy is going to continue. I mean, it is going to continue unless this team can turn things around in a major way. And I'm not talking like win 2 games in a row and then drop the 3rd game of the series. I'm talking about going on like an 8 or 9 game winning streak to put this controversy in the rear view. And what I'm bridging to with this comment and this thought process is the way the players have reacted to the media talking about Mickey Callaway's proverbial ass being in the jackpot seemingly every day. And the way that the team has been reacting to these rumors, these thoughts, it kind of makes you wonder, are the Mets really smart to fire Mickey Callaway? Because it really does seem as though the players do genuinely enjoy playing for him, and they have his back, and it seems like they understand that he has their backs as well. And I'm curious if any of that plays into what's going to happen if we fire him. I'm talking about like closed door meetings here with Jeff Wilpon and Brodie and who knows who else might be involved. But if they're actually considering the fact that the players really like him, and firing him might end up doing more harm than good, just because of the way the players might react to it. I don't know, that's pure speculation on my part, but it certainly does seem like the players want Mickey to stay around. And let's face it, if that's what they want, they have to do more of what they did last night. In other words, players control Mickey Callaway's destiny. And if they want Mickey to stay, they need to play hard for him. They need to hustle for him, just like Robinson Cano did to stretch a pinch hit single into a double. I haven't seen Robbie Cano bust out of the box like that once this year. Last night was the first time I saw him really turn it on. And that's the sort of stuff that this team in general, as a collective unit, needs to do if they're serious about letting Mickey Callaway keep this job. If they want to be part of the solution of keeping Mickey employed as their manager, the players have to be, if not the number one, certainly 1A reason for that happening. And they control it. Like I said, they control it by their actions on the field. They control it by their ability to win and lose games, to pitch better than they have been pitching if you're a starting pitcher, to hit better than you've been hitting if you're an offensive player. I'm talking to you, Wilson Ramos. But these guys need to get back to doing the things that we know they can do and that they did in the first 3 weeks of the season offensively. They start hitting the ball like that again, and they're going to go on a winning streak. And all of this hubbub about Callaway keeping or losing his job, it's going to disappear because the media will have something better to talk about. That's the way it goes. Mickey, I think, understands that, but it'll be nice to have him not constantly have to answer these questions after every single game. And that's what I'm really hoping for. I'm hoping to get back to baseball, get back to winning, and get back to being relevant. And that continues tonight as the Mets take the field against the Nationals. Zach Wheeler has his chance to do his part tonight. Wheeler has to pick the team up and continue to push forward, put up quality innings against the Nationals. Wheeler's pitched pretty well against the Nats. He did not pitch poorly against the Marlins, still ended up with a loss. But no, never mind. He didn't face the Marlins. He faced the Nationals last week. And as I recall, now that I think about it, he did not pitch well. He gave up 6 runs in 6 innings, if I remember correctly. So he needs to do better. And Zach Wheeler has his chance to do that tonight. So 7 o'clock start, or 7:10 start. Let's hope that the Mets can continue their winning ways that they started last night. I will not be back with another video until Friday morning. I'm going to be out of town the next 2 days. So I'll be back on Friday, maybe talking about the new manager. Hopefully not. If we're talking about a new manager, it means the Mets lost the last 2 games of the Marlins series, the Nationals series, which is being played tonight. So let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope Mickey Callaway still has a job. Like him or not, if he sticks around, it means the Mets are winning, and that's all we should care about as fans. So until next time, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met, and as always, let's go Mets.